Welcome to How to Save Your Marriage with Nicola Beer, a full show of tips and practical strategies to repair, rebuild, and strengthen your relationship. If you are currently stuck, wondering if your marriage can be saved, or you know you want to save it but don't know how to go about changing it, this show is for you. To book your free marriage strategy session with Nicola, get the free marriage ebook or donate. If you are enjoying the show and want to help keep it flowing, visit www.nicolabeer.com.
Hi and welcome. I'm so happy you're here. Today's episode is a little bit different. I'm actually interviewing a lady on couples events. She basically creates special events for couples to make their dating more interesting, whether it's inside the home or outside the home. And she also helps with engagement proposals to make them memorable and really interesting. So I'm going to be interviewing her. I'm going to go straight into the live cut version that I posted in my Facebook group. And if you would like to join the Facebook group, you're so welcome. It's a new community that's growing every single week. We support each other. I do a live Q&A every single Wednesday where I talk about different topics. I did affair recovery last week. This week, I interviewed this lady on how to make our dating more interesting. And next week, I'm going to be doing another live Q&A on affair recovery because this seems to be one of the most popular topics at the moment. And there's going to be loads more different topics as well. So you can just type into Facebook, into the group section, Nicola Beer Relationships, and the group will come up. It's free to join. Love to have you in there. I also have my Vinana dance party group as well. So I've got two Facebook groups. And the other one is about relieving stress and tension. Also has 23 different meditations you can enjoy to really help us to relax and let go in these uncertain times. So now I'm just going to cut straight to the Facebook Live. So hi everyone, welcome. So happy you're here for our live Q&A today, which is really exciting because we have a special guest with us, Sophie Robertson, who has over 12 years planning corporate events and then switched, which she's going to tell us why she switched, to helping couples to create more interesting events. She does a whole lot of other events as well, but one of the things that she is really passionate about is getting out of that boring dating that we can find ourselves in. You know, I've been in with my relationships where we've just gone to the same restaurant at the same time every weekend, or our Thursday evening ritual routine would be this takeaway at this time with this drink and this TV series. Like you're thinking, am I bored of the relationship or am I bored of them? After a while, so you're just like, okay, I'm living like the Groundhog Day, and it's my choice, which makes it seem really weird. But I just couldn't think creatively. I didn't have the space. So it's so great that there's experts like you to come along and support us. So, Sophie, I would love to hear why you decided to create this business.
So I decided to start Heather and Twilight simply because I have heard over the years from several girlfriends, and I've had my own personal experiences, but the sort of feedback has been, this event wasn't quite what I was expecting, or this date night didn't go to plan, or I was so disappointed. And I suddenly realized that there are a lot of people out there that actually need a little bit of help. And it's not necessarily their fault at all. It might be that they're just not that romantic, or they don't have some ideas, or they have basically a lot of other things on their time and their hands that they can't deal with. So they don't have the time to put in to invest and look at planning something different and romantic. But one that really affected me is my own personal experience, which is a rather funny story now that I look back at it. So basically, a while ago, my partner decided to surprise me for my birthday. So just to give you a little bit of background history, my birthday is in August. So for those of us who live in Dubai, we know it's a very hot and humid time of year. And about 3 weeks before my birthday, I had managed to fall down some stairs and snapped one of the main 3 ligaments in my ankle. So heels were an absolute no-no whatsoever. Anyway, he decided to surprise me for my birthday. So we whisked our way off into the car, and I then arrived at the mall, and I was thinking, oh, what are we going to do? And he then said to me, oh, we're going ice skating. So I kind of looked at him and was like, oh, that's not going to work for me. And he kind of said, oh, yes, the ankle. I forgot about the ankle. I was like, yes, unfortunately, that's not going to work. So don't worry, I have something else surprised. Okay, I've got something else in the background. So I was like, fine. So then we go off to the next surprise, and we're driving in the car, and I'm like, okay, looking forward to it, next expectation. And then we get to Dera, and I'm thinking, okay, must be some new interesting restaurant that we haven't been to before. That's great, let's check it out. And then we got out of the car and we started walking, and we started sweating and getting hotter, and makeup was starting to go, and I was kind of like, where are we going here? And then we ended up at a Dhow cruise, and I was kind of like, really? So then we went into this Dhow cruise, and inside it was humid, the food wasn't that great, and I was kind of disappointed, thinking, oh dear, he kind of didn't get this one right. And he's like, look, sorry, I know this isn't great, I have one more thing in surprise for you. I said, fine, not to worry, let's see what the surprise is. So we got back, and then I found that he'd lovingly made me a dessert for my birthday. And I was like, oh, fantastic. So he knows that I have some food intolerances. So he decided to try a recipe. I took a bite, and the first bite was lovely. And then I took a second bite, and I thought, what is this in my mouth? And I went and looked and took out this huge piece of plastic. And I was like, what is this in my food? And he said, oh my goodness, I knew I could smell something burning in the kitchen. I just didn't realize it might have been the blender. The recipe said, oh, with the dates in the blender, I'm meant to put water in. And I thought, oh my goodness. So I had a little bit more of a dig around, and then discovered, of course, that there was more plastic throughout the dessert. So I very, very kindly said, I hope you understand, I'm not going to eat. Okay. Now I look back and I find it hysterically funny. And I also see it from his perspective. So he had once heard me say that I had this fabulous ice skating experience in London during Winter Wonderland in Hyde Park, Christmas time, fantastic time of year. And he wanted to recreate that moment for me. He knows how much I love jazz music. So he had found a Dhow cruise that has a live jazz musician. He knew that I had food intolerances, so he lovingly decided to make something for me. But it all just went horribly wrong. So from the events planner side of me, I was thinking, okay, naturally, first thing to take on board is injury. If there's an injury, you obviously have to change the activity. Time of year, it is not a good time of year to be doing anything outdoors at all. And simple things like the cake probably would have been safer just to order it rather than making it yourself. But if you were going to make it yourself, I would suggest doing some cooking lessons before, or at least definitely following the recipe. So it was a very funny experience. And after this, I realized there are a lot of people out there who, bless them, try so hard, but still manage to get it wrong because they haven't necessarily thought about the background things that can get involved in an event and then cause a problem down the line. So I thought to myself, this is something that I could really do to help couples who want to have these wonderful romantic moments together, but just struggle a little bit with getting everything right. So this is how Heather and Twilight was really born, just deciding I'm such a romantic, I'm there to help people who aren't naturally romantic or struggle with the ideas.
Great, that's amazing. And great that you could see the positive of that and not let it, not and see, the funny side. And I definitely see that it's needed. I'm helping couples all the time who are sharing their date nights, they're not doing date nights, or their husband or wife is only one person in the relationship is doing it, and the other person is like, I don't know what to do, I'll do whatever makes you happy, you decide. And they get into a habit where no one's deciding, or one person's doing all the deciding and the planning, the other one's getting annoyed, and then the other, it can really help. So having someone to help, especially in these days and times, because we're so busy, we're working much longer hours than we ever used to. And so it just helps us to having someone like you. So it's great. So I'd really like us to dive into this webinar is about how to create that spark and how to keep a marriage alive, or a relationship alive and flowing. So I'll just share my tips on that, and then I would love to hear your tips as well. So we can give our listeners here, thank you for being here, so some different perspectives. So I was thinking, okay, how do I describe what are the main key things to keep a relationship happy within 5 or so minutes, for the sake of this audio, and something that people could take away and remember. And really the process that I take couples through has 3 main areas. To make it really, really simple, it's basically, the first one is kind acts, which I'll explain in a minute. Kind act, kind thoughts, kind communication. If we can just keep those alive, then the relationship is good. So what do I mean? So actions obviously are very important to be taking, and there's so many different actions that we can take of kindness, and different people prefer different ones. So when I take a couple through it, I literally go through a whole list of 25 most important needs that we have in a relationship. But for the sake of ease, it's like sharing with each other, what kind of ways do you need? What actions do you need to feel that love, to feel that connection? Some people it's that physical touch. Some people it's attention. More and more these days, we're getting addicted to our phones, addicted to TV. People are giving so much attention to the screens and not to each other. So attention is a real need, and action. And then there is appreciation, so verbal appreciation. Then there's having each other's back. That's an act, when you literally stand up for one another. Some people love those gifts. So it's all those different things. So making sure that you're taking actions, not that you want, because that's often where couples go wrong, but what your partner really needs to feel that love. So kind acts, and then there's kind thoughts. Now this is the hardest one, I really feel, to do, because we can all book a lovely date night. It might not go well, and that's why you're here to help us. But we can do that. But it's the thoughts that a lot of people just don't realize how powerful they are and how damaging they can be sometimes. If, for example, we're thinking they're lazy, they're controlling, they don't care about me, it's always me, this relationship is doomed, or, you know, whatever, any negative thought. And as humans, this is the way that we're wired. We're wired to think the same thoughts again and again. So as we go through our days, as we go through our weeks, we're probably having the same thoughts. It could be about the dinner that we had. It could be about what we've got to do for work. It could be about a friend. But we get into these thought cycles. And if our relationship thought cycles are negative, then that can create that negative energy in the home. And your husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend can feel that you are distant, can feel maybe that you're not really into them, or that you're sort of thinking the worst of them. And then that puts up a barrier. And that's sometimes what can happen. Sometimes we think the worst, okay, they're not going to give me anything, they're not going to do anything, because we think, okay, we're protecting ourselves. If I expect that they're not going to be there for me, I'm protecting myself. But actually, that can cause a lot of problems, because when we think the best in someone, they're going to like raise their standards, and they get more likely to get better and better. Whereas if we expect the worst of someone, sometimes unfortunately they can get worse. So kind thoughts about yourself as well. Insecurities often come from not feeling good in ourselves. So kind thoughts about ourselves, kind thoughts about our partner. And if you're stuck with not having kind thoughts, taking some action or learning some things, doing some meditations to change that. And then the third, it's so simple and so easy, kind communication. It's so easy to do with our work colleagues, with our friends, with our family, but with a man down the street, or, you know, the next door neighbor, but we're in a relationship. All of that just goes out the window when we're triggered, and we can overtalk someone. We can say, no, you've got to, it's my way or the highway. We can give each other the silent treatment. We can just say things we don't mean. So learning tools to really de-escalate any tension and compassionate communication. So that's what I kind of cover anyway. So what about you, Sophie? What would you say for keeping a relationship thriving in the spark there?
So from the events perspective, it's definitely quality time and spending lots of it together. So I have spent quite a bit of time interviewing couples who've been together for 20 to 37 years. And that's their marriage. That's not just when they met when they were kids. That's actually how long they've been married for. And I spent a lot of time asking them, how did they have a happy and successful marriage? And one of the key things they've always said is quality time. But this is also something that can be overlooked or misunderstood, because obviously quality time can mean something very different to you and something different to your partner. So it's kind of important to find something that means quality time to both of you. And of course, making sure that you have it regularly. So some of the couples that I've spoken to said that they have regular date nights, which I thought was fantastic. So it's really nice to see. So of course, you know, they have this one day of the week that they go out and do something together. So one of the couples who've been married 37 years now, and they look so young and so energetic still. I was like, wow, what's the secret? Like, we're happy because we keep each other always on the move. We keep things spontaneous. We like to surprise each other. And I loved that. So for example, not that long ago, she turned around to him and said, I want to go skydiving. And he was surprised. And he said, I love the fact that she can still surprise me after 37 years. You know, and he said, okay, fine, let's do it. I'm going to go skydiving with you. So they did. They jumped out of a plane together and they thought it was fantastic. You know, but also things like, you know, planning for the future is also a very big one. So it doesn't matter whether you've just gotten married or you're getting engaged or it's the first stage or you're later down the lines when you have kids or your kids have left home. It's always making sure to plan together to things you want to do. So trying something new and different, not doing sort of the repetitive or the norm. You know, and of course, as you said before, you know, you mentioned listening is very important and kindness. You know, paying attention to your partner is a big one. So, you know, if your partner has said to you, ooh, I'd like to try something new. We've done this again. You know, that's definitely a key to your partner to say, okay, actually, it's time we've got to try something different. Okay, you know, it's eventually, when you do the same thing again and again, it becomes the norm, and the romanticism kind of leads the relationship, or rather the activity. So it's important to do something that keeps you constantly motivated, upbeat, energized, which means trying new and different things. And sometimes getting a little bit out of your comfort zone could always be a good thing. Dare I say dancing? I know a few of the men who are listening will probably be groaning right now going, oh God, she said dancing. No, my wife keeps making me try to do this. But it is something that you can continue to do together throughout the years. There are so many different genres of dance. You can do it at home in the privacy so no one else can see you, but it's something that you can do together. Although obviously it could be golf. I'm not sure all the women in the group are now groaning, but you know, if your wife beats you at golf, then you only have yourself to blame at this, don't you really? So yeah, that's basically what I think, or what we've seen from, you know, interviewing and speaking with couples, of what you can do to sort of have a really happy and successful marriage long term.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Some really great tools and tips there. And I'm glad you said dancing. I love dancing, have my dance group as well. And yeah, I really also resonated to what you were saying about how couples see quality time differently. You know, for me, having a night in with my partner watching TV is not quality time. I don't see that as quality time at all. Whereas he thinks like, oh yeah, we're together, we're sat next to each other, you know, like, and I'm like, no, like for me, quality time is us interacting, you looking at my face, us talking, you know. So yeah, it can mean completely different things, and it's so important.
Definitely.
And I know I'm really excited to learn what you do out of the ordinary. I'd love to learn, you know, what you say. And another thing that's come up to me as we're talking is I'm working with more and more people these days that are giving up alcohol for like health lifestyle choices, or it's not helping the relationship. And so I'd love to also see if maybe it's included in this, but what kind of things people can do. Because I think a lot of people are stuck with, okay, we go to a bar at the weekend. We go to a bar this night, we go to a bar there. Oh, it's a Friday. Okay, we'll go to brunch and drink all day. So I'd love to hear like alternatives to drinking as well. So can you share with us?
Oh, definitely. You know, one of the things I love about Dubai is there are so many things to do here. And I've spent so much time researching it over the years of being here. And I love it because it always ends up surprising me. So some of the kind of interesting or weird or wacky things you can do in Dubai that don't include alcohol. For example, did you know that you can go axe throwing in Dubai?
What's that?
Axe throwing. It's literally, you have an axe like you would cut down a tree with, and you throw it at a target.
Oh, wow.
So this is literally it. So it's something new, different. I mean, very few people know that you can do it here. And how often can you say, oh yeah, my partner and I, we threw axes all day. I mean, what a random thing to do, right? Another one that I think is really good is Smash Room. It's a fantastic experience for those who haven't been there. It is literally the opportunity to smash anything and everything. So I mean, glasses, plates, TVs, guitars, washing machines in some cases. So it's probably the only time in your life you'll feel relaxed about breaking something. Because I know if you're in your own home, if you smash a glass, the first thing you think is, oh my goodness. I have to clean it up, or the dog could step on it, or the child could step on it, and we don't want that. But this is a place where you don't have to clean up afterwards. And it's a great time for couples to sort of spend quality time together. But it's also a really good one for couples who might be having a few issues and need to get things off their chest. And rather than directing their anger at each other, they can direct their anger at the glass. So every time you go into a room, you can have a private room for yourselves. You can ask Smashroom to turn up the music so no one else can hear you but you guys. You can talk, and every time you get a bit annoyed, you throw a glass at a wall, and it takes out some of that anger. So it's actually a fantastic experience. It's really tension relieving. Once again, no alcohol included, which is kind of fun. But if you're more of a nature lover and you don't want the physical things that I've mentioned, did you know, for example, that there is a turtle rehabilitation centre in Dubai? It's a fantastic experience for those who really love nature and they can give back. You can go see the turtles. You can actually help release them into the wild as well, which is a fantastic experience. But of course, it's not always just about money and things you can, spend on. There are a lot of things you can do together at home as well as a couple. So, for example, one of my favorite ones, which is 100% free, you can create your couple or your partner a couple voucher book. Okay, so literally type it up on a computer, print it out, cut it up, and make a voucher book. So, for example, one voucher could be, here is a day off from the children. So if you have kids, you literally can put in that voucher to your partner and say, I need the day off. You have to take the kids for the entire day, and I get me and quality time. So it shows that your partner is being valued and appreciated by saying, okay, fine, yeah, you will have that entire day to yourselves. Or, for example, the voucher could also be, here is 30 minutes of venting time. I need to vent. So you can give it to your partner and say, here's my voucher. I need you to listen to me for 30 minutes. Phone down, phone away, full attention. I just need to get something off my chest. So whether it's complaining about work or something to do with the kids or schools or whatever it is, your partner has to give you 30 minutes of undivided attention. And obviously, best to ask your partner first, do you want me to give you feedback, or do you want me just to let you vent? Because obviously that could have some blowback if you're trying to give feedback and the other person's like, no, just want to vent. But then there are other things you can do as well that are nice and romantic. For example, you could have a picnic at home. Just find a little nook in the house, get some cushions and pillows and covers, put them down, make yourself a really lovely picnic, pour yourself a drink if you want to drink. It doesn't have to be alcoholic. Get some flowers in, some candles, romantic music, and spend some quality time together. Or, for example, if your partner loves having a bath, how about drawing them a bath one evening, putting some romantic music on, or whatever music they like, it doesn't have to be romantic, some candlelight, their favorite book, or a DVD on their laptop or Netflix, whatever it is, and just saying, the evening's yours, just relax, I've got everything else, and just give them that time off. So it doesn't always have to be about spending money. It can just be simple things at home that you can do together as well. And this is something we recommend.
Great. Yeah, I love that. That sounds really great. And I was just thinking, most of the women or the men or the couples that I help, they're going through the aftermath of an affair that's happened. And I can really see how that Smashroom and just saying, right, goodbye to the past, goodbye to those memories, let's start again, and just smashing and throwing. I think that'd be quite fun. And so that's a really good idea. And same with the home things, like you said, like the voucher book, and that can be very special for the couple, because there'll be obviously different things that they like to do. Mm-hmm. And I love the idea of a picnic, whether it's in the garden, in the home, in this heat probably. But it's really nice just to just do simple things, isn't it? Sometimes we can forget how nice it is to do the simple things. So So what do you have? Let's say, okay, I want to start planning more events and being more creative. How on earth would I go about it? Like you said, what do I need to think about to start planning? Because I know what I'm like. I'm like, oh yeah, that would be really nice. Oh yeah, Sophie's given this great advice, and then I just won't do anything, I just forget about it because life is so busy right now. So what advice would you give for that?
So it depends on the event itself. So for example, if you're doing something like organizing a restaurant, it's not too complicated. It's fairly simple to do. But if you want to create a very special and unique event for your partner, it can usually take in quite a few other factors. So to give you an example, one of the standard packages that we offer, contains 5 different elements of people that we have to communicate and organize with. So for example, the flowers, the cake, the driver, the restaurant, and then the activity, or for example, the hotel. So it means you have several different people that you need to communicate with and keep on top of. And of course, it sometimes does take a little bit of work. So not everybody has that kind of time, but I would always say that preparation is key. So be as prepared as possible. I mean, it's amazing the amount of stats that I've gotten from women who I've done polls with as to how an event or a date night has gone horribly wrong because something hasn't been pre-planned. So for example, one of the ladies mentioned to me that on New Year's Eve, they wanted to have this beautiful dinner and he was planning on proposing. He forgot to book a restaurant. And of course, it's the busiest night of the year. So it was impossible. They ended up waiting 3 hours in a queue and they had food that they didn't even like. And by the time he proposed, she was kind of like, oh, this wasn't great. This wasn't exactly what I was hoping for. You know, so it can take some time and preparation. And I understand that not everybody has that time. As you mentioned, we've gotten a lot busier over the years. We do a lot more than we had to do before. You know, it could be that you don't have time because of work commitments or because you have to travel a lot. Okay, pre-COVID, obviously, not right now. Clearly, you're going to be grounded for a while. Or it could be that you have family commitments and you just don't have the time and the energy to plan something yourself. And this is when I would suggest to go to a professional and just say, you know, actually, I need the help. I don't have the time right now to plan something. So somebody else can take it off your hands and organize it all for you to make your lives easier as a couple. But the main thing of this is obviously preparation is key and having some ideas as well. Now, if you don't have time to do research, I recommend that you have a look at our social media page because we always put up free tips of things to do. So when we try new restaurants, try new activities, we'll post it on our Instagram and Facebook pages and say, we love this one. This is great for you to check out. You know, for example, something simple like we started recently doing Movie Date Monday. So every Monday we're going to post a suggested romantic movie. I know probably most of the guys are going to be groaning like, no, not another romance film. But sorry, romance is our niche, of course. You know, I'm a hopeless romantic. But there are also sorts of different things you can do. But obviously, preparing as much as you can and planning is always the best thing when you want to get a really successful event off the ground.
Great, thank you, Sophie. That's some really great tips there. And I can really relate because helping couples all the time, I often have someone in tears because the way that they proposed is still hurting them years on, the way it happened. Mm-hmm. And they just dreamt that it would go smoothly, that it would be this great effort, that they would have maybe asked for the father's hand in marriage and first and done this thoughtful planning, and it's been a bit off the cuff, or they've sent a child in with to give the ring when they're in the middle of the shower, or things like that. And it's really left an unpleasant feeling for that person, and of course that's not what the man wanted. So if any men are listening here, I know it's a bit unfair, it's a bit biased, so it's normally you that create the proposal, but really get help. Really go and see Sophie, get some expert advice. I know, Sophie, that you do consultations with people as well, so they can come up with their own ideas and you can support them to make it really good, or they can come to you for the whole thing, which is amazing. And I'm really keen to learn a bit more about how we can follow you and things, because I would like to follow what movies you like, because I just look at Netflix and I'm like, oh my god, there's so much, and I just can't waste time. I hate like putting on a movie and then being like halfway through, oh, this is rubbish, this is a waste of time, you know. So it'd be great if you're rating them and vetting them for us. So how do we follow you and find out more about you?
Definitely. So you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Heather and Twilight. Literally our name, which is quite easy. Obviously, our website is exactly the same, www.heatherandtwilight.com. And you can find out our tips there mostly on Instagram or Facebook. So we like to give as many as we can. So we've also started something that's kind of fun called Dateline Thursday. So you can try out the cheesiest datelines on your partner just to make them laugh. So for example, the one we posted recently was if I could rearrange the alphabet, I'd put I and U next to each other. So, you know, some silly and fun things that you can do. And of course, when we do have great restaurant recommendations or experiences, we put those out there as well. But it's interesting that you mentioned that so many women have complained about their proposals or have not been particularly happy about them. Because I recently did a poll on this with over 150 women taking part, and I asked them about their proposal experience, and only 33% of them said that they were happy with their proposal and that it was romantic, and the rest gave other comments, such as he didn't plan it very well, or it didn't go quite well, or somebody gave the game away, which is always the one that is just the worst. When a waiter comes along and says, "Oh, congratulations on your engagement," and the guy's looking at him like, not yet, he hasn't done it yet. So preparation is key. So it's just interesting, that you brought this up, because this is something I'll be doing a piece on later and writing an article on. It's just the delicate art of proposing is not always easy. So I've decided to coin a phrase called the reproposal. If you don't get it right the first time, you can get it right the second time. You can always do it again to your partner. You can phrase it slightly differently, rather than "Will you marry me?" Will you spend the rest of your life with me again? ? So it's kind of like renewing your vows, but you're redoing your proposal, basically.
That's really great. Yeah. So is it Heather and Twilight that people go to? Okay. Yeah. Wonderful. So I'll put that in along with this video in the Facebook as well. Yeah. So let's turn over to our audience. I'm not sure if anyone will have any questions. I didn't ask actually at the beginning to type questions in. So just going to minimize it slightly and just see if there's any in the group. So let's just have a look in our lovely relationship group.
Well, if nobody has a question, I have a question for the audience. When was the last time you went on a very memorable date with your partner? If it was recently, great. If it wasn't that recently, why not? Is there a reason you haven't gone out? Maybe it's time you should start thinking about it, perhaps. Or sorry, go for it.
Great. Sorry, yeah, so we have a couple of questions. So one is, the first one is from Aji. Hi, Aji. Please tell us what the best events that you have ever organised are.
Ooh, that's a good one. I think one of my favourite events that I've organised was ridiculously romantic. So once again, forgive me, I am a hopeless romantic. I blame Disney. I grew up with Happy Ever After, okay? So I'm just going to blame Disney for this one. But I organised this rather lovely sunrise hot air balloon experience. So they went up in this beautiful hot air balloon, got to see the sunrise. A falcon was flying around, little cheeky falcon, because apparently it didn't want to actually make a full loop. It kept coming back on and hopping around. And then they landed, and then they were whisked off for a beautiful breakfast in the desert. Obviously, this was cooler times of the year, not right now. And then after this rather fabulous breakfast, they were taken off to the Rixos in JBR, and they had a couples massage and spa experience for a couple of hours. And then after that, we organised for them to have a really lovely lunch together somewhere special. So that was probably one of my favourite ones, because it's just so romantic and a little bit different and, quite unique as well. So it was really a nice experience.
Great, that sounds lovely. And then we have Karen. She's saying that she loves a picnic, and she went to the desert to stargaze and have a picnic before the curfew, and she loves that. So she was just saying, hi, Karen, thank you, that she was enjoying that. And then we have really Sophia, nice, who has said that she's going to send her husband your way. And have you got any tips for date nights a wife can plan for her husband? That's a really good point, because there's so much probably emphasis on what men need to do. So what about what women can do for men? That's
Very
a great
good
question.
point.
Thank you, Sophia.
Yeah, no, that's a really good one, because of course we always think when we say somebody in the relationship is not overly romantic, we always assume that it's the guy. But in some cases, it can be the woman who struggles with ideas as well. Quite a few women have said this to me and said, my husband's the romantic one. I am not. I'm the one that need help. So, for example, something you can do with your husband, this one is very much alcohol related, so sorry about this. But if, for example, they like whiskey, or if they like cigars, I know you might not like that they smoke cigars, there is a cigar tasting lounge in Dubai. They can literally go there and try different cigars for the evening, which is a rather interesting experience. Or they can do whiskey tasting if they like whiskey, or any kind of alcohol. You can get a professional to basically take you through a tasting session. You can blend your own whiskey as well, for example. This is quite a fun one. If they like fast cars, you could always go up to the F1 track and drive on the F1 track, especially if they're really big into sports and racing. This is a fantastic one for the guys as well. So these are just a couple of ideas that are very guy-centric. But of course, women could do them as well if they like whiskey or cigars. But this is something I think that's more for the guys.
Great. And what about, I'm just thinking like here, a lot of people, our nature is the desert. Is there things you would organise for that at all? Do you do any events like that?
We do, obviously not this time of year, little hard to be in the desert. So when it gets cooler, there are a lot of things that you can do in the desert. So for example, somebody mentioned a picnic earlier. One of the ladies commented on that. This is something that we like to do. So for example, Al Qudra Lakes, the beautiful Love Lakes, you can set up a tent there and have a fabulous picnic together and have, a really lovely experience. You can even barbecue in certain areas, not everywhere. So be very careful where you barbecue unless you want to get a fine. But this is a great time to sort of go out and do something in nature, or stargazing is a fabulous one as well. So you can organize for a driver to take you out into the desert, have time just to sit in the desert, look at the stars, talk to each other, phones away, because hopefully some parts of the desert, the internet doesn't work quite as well. So it means to really focus on each other and just sort of have a little bit more time. But of course, there's so many other things you can do as well. If you're a big nature lover and you're kind of outdoorsy, there are a lot of hikes you could go on and we could recommend for you to do as well. So there are so many different things that are available, but obviously time of the year given as well. It has to be the right time.
Sure. Great. And I'm just going to answer a few of these other questions now. So they're coming through. Mandy is saying that another idea is learning to cook something together or to learn to make drinks and cocktails together. So yeah, that's good. And I love a YouTube cooking lesson. I think that's cool when you just look at what YouTube has to share. I've got another question here from Mandy. He's just saying, like, how do you convince your other half to put down the phone or to step away from the computer to just spend some time with you? So I think here it's really about understanding, what's the reason behind them doing that? Do they need to be on their phone for the business? Do they use TV as an escape? And just saying to them, like, I understand that you need your TV time. I understand that you need your phone time. Can we, once you've finished, or can we plan like something to do afterwards? So it's really about sharing that you understand that they need that time and you're happy for them to have that time, and that you also really would love some time with you, and then giving them a couple of suggestions and seeing, okay, what would they really like? What would they like to do? Given some options. So I would say that the best way is just to really address and just say how it makes you feel, like how positive it would make you feel, how happy you would be if you could do some positive things together. I don't know if you have anything extra you want to add to that, Sophie.
So from the events planner side, I would say make sure there is no reason they can't do something special with you. So you find a date, say to them, this is the day that we are doing something just you and me, which means if you have kids, the nanny is roped in and the kids are with the nanny for the day. Nothing else goes into the diary. So they have no excuse to not spend quality time together. And I would say that if you're going to make one rule for one, it has to be the same for the other. So if you're going to say you want quality time, both of you need to put your phones away. So either, if it's not particularly hot, of course, don't leave them in the car if it is, but if it's not, leave them in the car. Go and do something together. Spend that quality time together so you're able to really talk and basically reconnect, which is, of course, really important, that you have this time together, because, of course, a lot of the time we spend so much time working, we don't always have the time. So that quality time together is really important when you can grab it, because of course you don't always get it as easily. So that's probably the best way to go about it. Just make sure that there's nothing else that can possibly get into the way. So if they're a golfer, make sure it's a day that they're not playing golf. Or if it's the day that the nanny has the day off, obviously make sure it's not that day that you plan for, so the kids don't have to come with you as well. And you can just spend time together as a couple.
Great. So we just got one more question, and so I'll answer this and then you can answer it, just give them a few different ideas. So it's just saying, have you got any ideas for inexpensive dates at home after the children go to bed? So what comes to mind for me, one of the games that I used to love to play is where we have the iPad and we're taking it in turns, play a song on YouTube, and then we'll have to guess each other's song. And that would be really fun because you would sort of know the song and you'd be able to sing the song, but you wouldn't know who it was by. And we had hours of fun just playing that. And then a board game. Some of the reasons that I love Christmas is because Twister comes out, Uno. I used to love the Game of Life as well. I'm not sure if you know the Game of Life. It was like Monopoly, except for you had like a little car and you'd put in like the mum and the dad and the children. It's called the Game of Life. So you would get married and then you would have children and things like that. So I used to love that game. So those were my ideas. What about you, Sophie?
So there are a lot of things that you can do at home together that doesn't necessarily have to cost you very much. So for example, Mandy, I think, asked earlier about cooking together. This is a really great one. So there are a lot of things that have now come online because of COVID. So being online is easier than it was before. So you could try cooking something different and new together. It does mean that you have to get the right ingredients because obviously it won't work, but this is something you can do. Or for example, I mentioned dancing earlier. Sorry guys to bring it up again. But there are so many options online that you could just do in the privacy of your own home. So there's no more excuses about, oh, don't want people watching because no one's around. Or for example, you could try cocktail making. This is also something that somebody mentioned. This is a very good one as well. You probably have, for those of you who drink alcohol, quite a good stash of alcohol, around. You can see what ingredients could go into a cocktail together. Or for example, for something that's not too expensive, you could do date night at home packages. So I know that we offer them on our website, something easy that we put together for COVID. For those that couldn't do something outdoors and needed something indoors, we organized these date night at home packages. So whether it was a fine dining 3-course meal from a 5-star restaurant, which is a mystery, or something like an activity that they can do at home together, just to give them that quality time. But there are so many other ideas as well. Some of them are workouts. So if you're a workout couple, there are a lot of challenges you can do as a couple, whether it's deadlifting each other, which is actually kind of funny. I tried that with my partner and it was hysterically funny. I did manage to deadlift him and I was very proud of myself. So, there's so many things you can do. It's just a matter of kind of finding them. And as I said, we always give free tips and advice on what to do, at home as well as outside as well. So always happy to help.
Great, thank you, Sophie. I'm just imagining doing those all together, mixing all those cocktails, and then trying to deadlift each other. And
I don't recommend that one.
I recommend that. Great, it was so lovely having you here, and it will be great to follow you and see what movies you're suggesting on Mondays and get your extra tips. And any men we know that are struggling, I'll be like sending them your way. Get some help, get some consultations. So. Thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else you would like to share, or, you're so welcome?
Oh, great. No, I just wanted to say, it was so lovely being with you today and being able to talk to you and obviously understand from your perspective as well what can go into helping a relationship, because that's very much why I started Heather and Twilight in the first place, was to help couples stay connected and keep their spark alive. So, if predominantly women were attending this today, this is your opportunity to give your partner a good nudge and be like, hey, go and talk to this lady. She can help us out. There is no excuse now for you to not be able to do something. Or if, for example, one of the partner is the ultimate planner, they plan everything and they also want a surprise, we can arrange that as well. We do mystery dates so that neither of them know where they're going. They just have a vague idea of what they've recommended. But this is obviously, a big part of what I do is about romanticism and happily ever after. As I mentioned earlier, I blame Disney for my belief in absolute romance, but this is something we do, so we're always happy to help people as much as we can.
Wow, I'm so excited that you said that. I thought you had shared all the great news, but I think even more amazing to have a mystery date where it's a mystery for you both.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I hope you'll have to get that right though. Then say it, Sophie.
Don't worry. We do a background check on you both. We talk to you about the kind of things you like. Obviously, if we do ask things like, "Is there something you're afraid of?" If you're afraid of heights, we're clearly not going to send you in a hot air balloon or make you go on a zip line. Okay, but this is with what we do. But we get a vague idea of what they like.
Sure. Thanks for listening. So happy to share that with you. If you would like to join my dance party group, which is a Facebook group, which is where We release a lot of stress and tension through dancing and meditations. It'd be so cool to connect in there. This is like my passion project. And if you would like, obviously, to join the relationship one, as I mentioned at the beginning, you're so welcome as well. Just type in Facebook, Nicola Beer Relationships, and it will come up. From my heart to yours, have an awesome week ahead. Bye.
Thank you for listening to How to Save Your Marriage with Nicola Beer. To book your free marriage strategy session today, you can visit www.nicolabeer.com, where you can also get the free marriage fixing ebook, request a topic for the show, and make a donation if the show has been of benefit to you and you want to help keep it going. We wish you an amazing love-filled day ahead.